Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We're going to be talking about the 7 tips for effective leadership. Some of you have connected me via LinkedIn, others on WhatsApp and other social media channels, and I appreciate you guys coming out. I've put together some content over the past couple of weeks based on some research I've done, books I've read that can really help us position ourselves for leadership in this challenging environment. So just some ground rules to start with. The timing of this workshop, we'll keep it tight, around 35, 40 minutes. Won't go past that. I request that mobile phones be on silent so you're not disturbed during the workshop. Questions are welcome at any time during the workshop. So just type it in, or you can even say something. And I recommend that you take notes as well, because there's putting out some interesting ideas out there, and some of it you might find super useful. You might want to do some reading on after the workshop as well. So a little bit about me. My name is Saad, and I am a mindset and performance coach. Mindset is very crucial to our success because it impacts the way we think, it impacts how we feel, and ultimately impacts how we react to our challenges. So when we adopt a new mindset, we start to see new results. And often you see there's these two contrasting mindsets. There's the victim mindset and there's the victor mindset. Especially now with the COVID crisis, there's people that are capitalizing on the opportunities. They are the victors. And then there's people that are blaming the outside environment who are the victims. I help ambitious, performance-driven individuals get clarity and improve their results. And I'm also an environmental consultant and project manager based in Dubai. I've been working in the construction industry for the past decade. Now, why are we here? Obviously, as of yesterday, that was the last statistic I checked, there's been more than 30 million cases of COVID-19 globally. And we are all adjusting to a new normal. All markets, regardless of what industry you're from, are adjusting to a new normal. One of those things has meant less traveling. So myself personally, last year, I was traveling back and forth Saudi Arabia on a weekly basis. I can't do that anymore. So I've had to adapt. I've had to pivot my career to suit, and a lot of people are in similar boats. And of course, the rise of telecommuting, right? Someone is trying to say something. All right. Let me just mute this, guys. Sorry, can everyone please be on mute during the, wait, all right, okay. So I want to ask you now, all of you guys that are attending this webinar, obviously we've seen the rise of work from home, we've seen the travel. I'd like to ask you guys, how has the new normal impacted the way that you work in your job? You can open your mic, you can share, or you can chat. How has the new normal impacted your industry and how you work?
With my industry, we had to quickly adapt to kind of get our tailoring house up to scratch in terms of the technology that we use with our international clients. So we had to develop a program where the clients can actually take measurements on themselves, and through that, and through that we could work on their bespoke garments,
right?
In a remote way. So, but by the time they get their package, it's 95% perfect on their on their body. So that's
Right.
one of the ways which we have to kind of adapt. And now most of our clientele, we work with them on Zoom.
Uh-huh. And
So
how has that affected the way that you're interacting with the clients?
actually, it opened up a lot of new doors. We had clients in the past where if they're, in Singapore or in London or in UK or in Canada,
Right.
well, when they would want to make a commission, they'd wait until they're here. But now they
Sure.
have the kind of an opportunity to get a garment done from the comfort of their home,
Sure.
which
Sure.
is really interesting.
Interesting. Definitely. Definitely. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Adam.
No
Appreciate that.
problem.
All right. So the next thing that I kind of wanted to show you guys was this picture on the left, which is basically showing you what a traditional career path looks like, right? So you start somewhere on the left and you make your way to the top. And this is what most careers look like even today. However, what has changed is what we used to perceive as conventional leadership, and that's now being contrasted with modern leadership. So what is modern leadership? Modern leadership is leading with influence rather than titles. See, conventionally, we used to believe that any decision making, any influence, and real leadership stuff happens around the middle of this curve. So after you've done it, maybe 10 years, 12 years in your industry, but now things have changed. Now you can lead with influence, and that can happen anywhere along this curve, right? So that can happen. You can lead your subordinates, you can lead your boss, you're leading your peers, you're leading up and down, and that's called 360-degree leadership, and that can happen anywhere. And that's going to be emphasized during our workshop today. And why is that so important right now is because things are so uncertain, is because we are changing our way of working. We're moving from an old way to a new way. So organizations are consciously looking for individuals that can lead across everywhere, that can lead holistically rather than just in one direction. And such leaders often recognize potential for growth. So if you look at companies like Netflix, Airbnb, Shopify, Upwork, all of those organizations, or rather the leaders of those organizations, have identified this change as an opportunity and as a means of growth. And we're currently seeing industries such as, e-education, e-commerce, anything that's got to do with content creation. It's really, really in the upswing. So leaders that are recognizing this, regardless of title, right? I'm not talking about titles here. If you recognize this opportunity, you position yourself as a leader. And this is a quote from Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy is a very popular Canadian-American author. He says, "The true test of leadership is how well you function in a crisis." The true test of leadership is how well you function in a crisis. So we have to ask ourselves right now, as ambitious professionals, how well are we functioning in this crisis? Are we approaching this crisis with a growth mindset, or are we approaching it with a fixed mindset? A lot of people, surprisingly, are still hoping things will go back to the way they were. In 2021, we're going to go back to the way we were. But the truth is that markets and the way we work and the way we live our lives has shifted so dramatically. I don't think anyone's actually going to forget 2020, right? And people with the growth mindset, they are those that have already grown past this change. Now they're looking to the next challenge. Now they're saying, okay, how can I leverage this? And we're going to be emphasizing this throughout this workshop, right? So how can you lead with a growth mindset? Let's talk about those 7 things that I'm going to suggest to you that you need to adopt. And the first thing is self-leadership, right? What is self-leadership? Self-leadership is the practice of intentionally influencing your thinking, feeling, and actions towards your objectives, right? Self-leadership is the practice of intentionally influencing thinking, feeling, and actions towards your objective. Why is that important? Because you have a greater awareness of your capabilities when you are a self-leader. That's the first thing that happens, is you understand your worth, you understand what you can do. The second thing is improved decision-making, right? Once you understand what you're capable of, the way you make your decisions improves dramatically. And the third thing is influencing and motivating others. So if you're going to influence and motivate others, if you're going to be an authority in your industry, then you need to be able to influence other people. And the only way to do that is that if you're a self-leader, if you know what you're able to do, if you have a plan, only then will people be willing to follow you. Right? And how do you start self-leading? Well, it starts with, first of all, clarity. Clarity of your personal and your professional vision, right? So you want to be very clear on what your short-term and long-term goals are, right? And you want to be clear on how you're going to get there. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. So how can we master ourselves? One of the easiest ways to start self-leadership, right, is by maintaining a daily schedule, right? So the body and mind loves ritual. We love waking up at the same time, sleeping at the same time, and having specific pockets of time for activities. So maintaining a daily schedule is very, very important to self-leadership. Cultivating mindfulness. So regardless of if you're in busy meetings throughout the day, even taking 1 or 2 mindful breaths has shown to dramatically decrease your levels of stress. You detune from the noise and you focus on what's important. And also invest in your development and care, right? So things like attending this webinar. Thank you to all of you that are attending this webinar. This is a form of you investing in yourself. And also investing in your development and self-care. Self-care includes exercise, getting to sleep on time. All of these things, as simple as they seem, are parts of self-leadership, right? And the second one now that I want to talk about with you is empower. Now, once you've got that self-leadership spirit, once you've understood, once you have the discipline, it's time to start empowering others, right? How do you start to empower others? Well, first thing is communicate clearly and honestly. Be very, very clear with what your expectations are. I've worked as a project manager on multi-million dirham projects, and one of the biggest issues that I've seen on projects is not technical, it's always communication. It's a lack of letting others know what it is that is expected. And that's a big part of your job as a leader, is clear communication. And delegate effectively. At this stage, I would like to ask you guys, what is the difference between telling and delegating? Can anyone share? You can chat and you can open your mic and share as well. What is the difference between telling someone what to do and delegating? I think, there you go. Now you guys can talk.
Delegating is asking someone to do, and delegating is asking someone to do with some accountability.
Okay. Thank you so much for contributing. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on. So I see there's a chat. Let's see there. Telling is instructing and delegating is giving authority to the other person to take decisions. Thank you, Saria, for sharing that. Hassan says, let me make my decisions on my own to achieve the communicated goal. Thank you, Hassan, for sharing. Okay. Great, thank you for sharing, guys. So let's move on now, right? So exactly, so delegating actually in practice requires the person who's going to give the delegation, the leader, to do some homework, right? Delegation means that you have identified the person who is capable of doing the task you need them to do, and then you give them the space to do it. Delegation is not giving instructions or barking on orders. It's being strategic with who you give what to, and also giving them the space to do it while holding them accountable. And the other thing that while we're on accountability is that you need to demonstrate accountability, right? You need to demonstrate that you hold yourself accountable, and only then will the colleagues around you, will the people around you notice that and start to hold themselves accountable too. Oftentimes we think our colleague isn't doing this or our colleague isn't doing that, but we don't ask ourselves the question, have I been clear on what I'm supposed to be doing? And have I communicated that to my colleagues? So demonstrating accountability is very essential to creating a culture of empowerment within your team. All right, so number 3 is encouraging ideation. Listen more, speak less. On one of my recent LinkedIn videos, a very senior leader with many years of experience, he commented, he said that the best leaders are the ones that are the last to speak. You see, hearing is a physical ability, but listening is a skill. When we listen to others attentively, when we make eye contact, we send a very strong message. We say, I'm not just hearing you, but I value what you are saying, right? And that's very important for leaders. Share your challenges and give others the opportunity to contribute. A lot of times we believe that if we share our challenges, then we're going to start looking weak or we're going to be vulnerable. But in fact, sharing challenges is a sign of strength. And it's also a sign of saying to the other person, I respect you and I value your input. It encourages others to give you their ideas, to give you their best. And that is the core of ideation. Celebrate your successes and failures. So this is a quote from Steve Jobs, if you're afraid of failing, you won't get very far. And I think that really tells us all there is to know about this. And practice non-judgment and openness. Ideas can come from anywhere. This is especially important when it comes to things like design thinking, when it comes to looking for creative solutions. Judgment crushes ideas, but openness allows that flow. Here's an example of a team learning cycle. And I wanted to share this with you guys because this is something you can take with you and actually apply to your own workplace, regardless of what position you are. So team learning cycle consists of public reflection, shared meaning, joint planning, and coordinated action, right? And you can instigate this at any point. You can get your colleagues together and say, hey guys, let's get into a meeting room. Let's do some reflection together on what we're doing, or let's do some joint planning together. You can initiate such cycles. And number 4 is initiate reflection. Okay, so it's basic question, where do we stand right now? And again, we don't have to wait for our superiors to be asking these questions. We can ask this question. We can initiate reflection. We can say, how is this going? We can create opportunities for feedback, right? And we can self-reflect regularly ourselves. We don't learn from experiences, we learn from reflecting on the experience. So this is a quote, and really I think it sums it up so well. Experience is important, but without self-reflection, without recording what that experience taught you, it doesn't really register. Routine reflection creates accountability. So that goes back to what I was talking about, empowerment, is this feeds back to point number 2, which was empowerment. I just wanted to share this with you guys. This is the SBI framework for giving objective feedback. And the SBI framework starts with situation, where you state the time and place, behavior, where you're very objective about what behavior you saw, and impact, and what you felt, thought, and experienced, how it impacted you. A lot of times, especially in the professional environment, when things get very stressful, we go straight to the impact. We go to the person and we tell them, this went wrong. This is the impact, this is what went wrong, but we don't give them the context, and we are not specific about their behavior. So when we are giving objective feedback, it is very crucial to follow the SBI model, because this will ensure that A, your feedback is not misunderstood, and B, that your colleague has something to do with it, right? That there is an action coming out of this feedback and they have the details they need to take that action. Number 5 is be adaptable. This is super, super, super important, guys. People that are adaptable embrace challenges better, period. And they continue to stay relevant. Classic example of this is dinosaurs, right? Couldn't adapt to climate change, extinct, ruled the world millions of years ago. We don't want to go extinct. We want to perform better and better. And people that are adaptable perform better because they spend more time in their stretch zone. If you see on the right here, when you are not adaptable, you tend to spend time in your comfort zone because you don't want to get out of it. And when a challenge comes your way, you will more than likely go straight into your panic zone because you haven't conditioned yourself for peak performance. You haven't conditioned yourself to stretch to meet your challenges. So be adaptable, condition your body mind to be adaptable. So you spend more time in your stretch zone, which is your place of peak performance, and improve how you deal with uncertainty as well. That's another thing that adaptability does. A lot of times these days, we are going through some very uncertain times. We can't see more than 3 months, 6 months out. And we're starting to get these worry chains, right? So I'm sure we've all experienced this in some way. It starts with, I have a headache. What if it's coronavirus? Maybe I passed it on to everyone at work yesterday. And then you go really extreme. Everyone's going to die. I've infected everyone, right? That's a worry chain. But it doesn't, we don't need to follow these worry chains. We can stop it right here, right? So when you have a thought saying, I have a headache, you can ask yourself, what can I do about it? What can I do about something that I'm concerned with right now? If there's something you can do, you plan it and you do it. If there's nothing you can do, then we have to train ourselves to let it go. And that has to do with dealing with uncertainty and being adaptable. Now, I appreciate that letting it go isn't so easy, right? And for a lot of us, we're overthinkers and we're concerned. So I highly recommend practices like meditation. And meditation has a misconception. People believe, I have to meditate for an hour a day. As someone who's been meditating for almost 7 years every day, meditation doesn't have to take an hour. It can be 10 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, and you can sort of split it throughout your day as well. The other thing is going for walks, right? A lot of us are working from homes or we're not working from the office. It's important for us to disconnect from that environment and just take a break. Go for an exercise, go for a run, go for a walk, and clear your mind. And of course, practicing daily prayer is also very, very important for us to have a little faith, have trust in the process, and become more adaptable in response to our challenges. Number 6 is be an expert. So become a subject matter expert in your niche and whatever it is that you do. So we have a lot of professionals that have joined us today. Thank you so much, guys. I would love to know, type in the chat box or share over the mic as well. What expertise are you joining us from? We've had some people share with us already, but please, I'd like to hear from you. Someone. Education. Hassan says education. It's great to have you on, Hassan. Sadaf says education, maintenance management, business intelligence, IoT. Okay. Executive coaching. Thank you for sharing that. Faisal says business analysis and digital transformation. Wow, we have a really diverse set of professionals coming on board today. It's great to connect with you guys. Hassan says emotional intelligence. Okay. Sari Azahir says human resource professional. Thank you for sharing, Sari. Awesome. All right. So I'm obviously from the environment industry. I'm from the construction industry. So that's just another diverse mix to this group. Now, becoming a subject matter expert in your niche is very crucial. Why is it crucial? Because when you get to know the challenges that professionals face within your network, you're not going to be able to fix all of those problems, right? You are going to be able to fix those problems that you know the best about. And that's where connecting with people comes into play. That's where being an expert is important, is when you start to share your knowledge and experience to help solve the problems of others, to help solve the problems of the people in your network. And you will become, very soon, if you do that, you will become a known expert in your network, and you will become the go-to guy for a set of problems. How is this related to leadership? It's because people start to identify with an authority, right? It's what happens when you post content regularly on social media on a specific topic. People start to look at you for your views on that topic. And you become that go-to person, which is, again, very, very important if you want to position yourself as a leader in your industry. The seventh one is cultivate emotional intelligence. And this is, again, connected with connecting with people, helping solve their problems, relationship management. Emotional intelligence plays a vital role in that. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as recognize and manage relationship based on awareness of the emotions of others. And I want to show you guys this matrix right here. And emotional intelligence has a few bits to it, right? And this breaks it down very simply. If you look at the recognition column, it starts with self-awareness, which is part of personal competence, how you perceive your emotions, as well as how you recognize your behavior impacting other people, right? And then under personal competence, there's regulation, which is how you manage your emotions, how you handle conflict effectively, self-management within yourself, right? And when we go down here, there's social competence. So there's self-awareness, and then there's social awareness. There's walking into a room, into a meeting room or with a client, understanding, okay, what is this person having a bad day? Do I need to be extra sensitive with how I deal with them? And then there's relationship management, which is expressing your ideas and information, getting along with others. And this is obviously very, very, very crucial when we're talking about leadership, regardless of what industry you're in. Relationship management is really the key. Most high-performing executives have a very high degree of emotional intelligence. And I just want to share you some stats from Travis Bradberry. So Travis Bradberry authored the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0, and EQ is responsible for 58% of your job performance, and people with high EQ make significantly higher amount of money, and 90% of top performers have a very, very high EQ. Why is that? Because EQ promotes a collaborative approach to working, the ability to see different perspectives and improve the way you work with people from different backgrounds. And one of the best things that having a high EQ does is it makes you solution focused, right? You stop focusing so much on the problem and your emotional reactivity towards a problem, and you become more objective. And this plays a big difference to how you communicate, how you carry yourself, and how you deal with your challenges. Solution focused response. Now let's do a quick recap of the 7 things that we've done an overview of, right? So the first one was self-lead. Leadership starts with you. The second is empowering others, giving that to other people, communicating effectively, providing accountability. The third was encourage ideation, being open and encouraging the flow of ideas. The fourth was initiate reflection. So initiate meaning being the one that asks, how are we doing here? Have we hit our mark? What's working? What's not working? The fifth was be adaptable, right? So really in response to your challenges, do you go in your stretch zone where you become peak performance, or are you staying in your comfort zone and being evasive? The 6th was be an expert, so that people come to you and they start to identify you as an authority figure in your niche area. And the 7th was emotional intelligence, that allows you to connect with others, right? Now, anyone can be a leader. Anyone can be a leader at all, but leadership, because leadership is a mindset and it's not a title. Those people with titles who can't lead destroy results. It doesn't matter where you are in your personal life or your professional life. You can stop following and you can start leading today. Remember, leadership starts with you. But in order to become an effective leader, you do need the following, right? You need a realistic plan with SMART goals. What are SMART goals? SMART goals are goals that are specific. You can define them. They're measurable, so you can scale them, and they're attainable, they're relevant, and they are time-based. And how often have you tried implementing an idea only to give up before the finish line? How often has that happened? A lot of times what is missing for us is consistency and accountability. When we don't have those two things, then we tend to drop our ideas before we see them through. And often when we start something new, there's a lot of inertia. It's holding us down. And we need to leverage our skills to fly towards that success. We need to power through the inertia that's keeping us down. And one of the ways of doing that is by discovering where you stand on the playing field, by understanding what your skills are, what kind of a player are you, so that you know where to aim and what is aligned best with your abilities. And to help you with this, we've put together a self-discovery questionnaire for executives, for ambitious professionals, to help them get clarity on what their strengths are and what their weak points are. And we can do a free self-discovery call, because I'm feeling especially generous. The first 5 people who will send me the self-discovery questionnaire that you're seeing on screen right now, I'll share a link on the various groups that we are connected with, so you can actually type it up and send it back to me. It'll take about 10-15 minutes of your time. But the first 5 people that will send this within the next couple of days, before September 22nd, you will get a 30-minute free self-discovery call with me, and we will go through where it is that you currently are, so that you can figure out where you want to go. Now, a little bit about Mumkin, the organization that I'm a part of as a mindset coach. Mumkin are a team of highly qualified, skilled, and professional coaches. And the coaches at Mumkin are certified from multiple schools of coaching. We provide coaching services to individuals and organizations, and we provide life, executive, business, and leadership coaching. There's a link to the website here as well if you want to visit the page. Otherwise, please connect with us at any time. We're happy to talk. Before we end this webinar, I'd like to ask you a question. What was most useful for you today? Of the things that we covered, of the seven things that we covered, what was most useful for you? Nair says the concept of meditation. Thank you so much for sharing. Who else? If no one shares, I'm gonna assume that. Okay, that's awesome. So Saria says, for me it was EQ. And Kamran says motivation, become a self-leader, quick meditation in 7 minutes. Saqib Ahmed says emotional intelligence, importance of EQ, Sikandar. Omer Hassan says collaboration. Okay. Maintaining relationship with your peers. Niyaz says meditation, EQ, adaptability. Faisal says be ready to change. Being adaptable. Okay. Sadaf Kashi says, okay. I missed the beginning, so I still kind of feel lost. Okay, no worries. Well, we're going to be sharing a recorded version of this as well with the attendees. So it's more important to be emotional intelligent than to be a technical expert. Nias asked, but how do you make yourselves adaptable or stretchable? That's a great question, Nias. So Nias is asking, how do you make yourselves adaptable or stretchable? Well, again, it comes back to figuring out where you are first and then what your skills are, right? So stretching is all about going from point A to point B. To go from point A to point B, you need to figure out what is point A for me, right? And then you figure out a sequence of goals that is aligned with your stretch zone, that is aligned with that, and you become adaptable as you engage in those goals with schedules, with consistency. That is adaptability, right? Hassan is asking, this turned out to be as a self-assessment for me of how well of a leader am I, or areas of improvement for me. Well, it's a bit of both things, right, Hassan? So again, just to come back to point number one, leadership starts with you, right? It starts with self-leadership. So when you start to assess yourself, you automatically are also assessing yourself as a leader. And if you go back to the self-discovery forum, just go back here, it has various modes. So it's really just you scaling yourself 1 to 10. But when we get on the call, we're going to be talking about leadership management. We're going to be talking about focus, but we're also going to be talking about personal. We're talking about your personal life vision, your self-development, your health and well-being. It all comes together. You can't sort of separate one thing from another. Kamran says, be ready to get out from your comfort zone. Absolutely. Sikandar says, first, everyone should be expert in his, her field, subject matter expert. Absolutely, that's very important. Sadaf says, leadership is all about understanding aspects of different skills that would help people stretch and nurture themselves. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sadaf. Yes, helping people stretch and nurture themselves is a big part of leadership. All right. So if anyone is interested, by the way, I just want to add to this. If anyone is interested, you can get a special, and I know that there's been a few messages about emotional intelligence just now. If you're interested in an emotional intelligence assessment, just get in touch with me and I'll give you the details on that. For a very special price, we can offer you an emotional intelligence assessment as well. Sadaf says self-lead. Self-leading is not approved and is taken negatively. I think it depends on how you define self-leadership. So the way that we define self-leadership on this call was all about self-discipline, having a routine, having a schedule, and I don't see how having a routine and having a schedule and being clear about your vision can be taken negatively. What we don't want to misconstrue self-leading is that, oh, you start to think of yourself as I am the boss. That's not self-leadership. Self-leadership is a deeper dive into your vision and being clear on your capabilities and objectives. All right, Hassan says, empower others according to their skills. That's great. Okay, thank you so much, everyone that was on this short call today. I had a great time interacting with you guys. I'll be in touch with you guys. As I said, the first 5 people that will send us the self-discovery form, I'll send you guys a link to it on the various channels. I'll get on a 30-minute call with you and we'll talk about where you are and where it is that you want to go. It's been a fantastic call. There's been a few more. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you, Saria. Thank you, Sikandar. Ahmed says self-leadership starts with aligning your goals with your leader's visions. Once you start with that, then it won't be taken negatively. That's great. You're welcome. You're very welcome, Asim. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Nair. Thank you everyone that joined today. I hope this was beneficial for you. We're going to be doing more of these. We'll announce another one in a couple of weeks' time. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I'm going to be putting out more content. I'm in fact working on a new video on a fantastic book that I'm reading called Atomic Habits. I'll be doing a summary of that. So connect with me on LinkedIn and look out for that. Thank you so much, guys. We're going to end the call now and we'll speak soon. It's been great. Thank you.